Hey, ESPN, I'm Jack.
And I'm Miles from the Daily Zeitgeist, a daily comedic news podcast that answers the question,
what if Stephen A. Smith spoke at a normal volume and his opinions were based on fact and not completely insane? This probably isn't the best way to describe this.
No, you just negated the two things Stephen A. Smith is known for.
Okay, what if The Daily Show was hosted by us?
Yes, but who is us?
Okay, I'm Jack. I'm the co-founder of Crack.com.
And I'm Miles. I love soccer and get very nervous when I'm pulled over by the police.
He's also a former lobbyist who quit politics for comedy.
Yeah. Well, look, we covered news, the president, pop culture, and we're both very big sports fans.
I'm actually named after my grandfather, legendary NBA coach and ESPN alum Dr. Jack Ramsey.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm named after Miles Davis, the legendary heroin addict who is not my grandfather.
So search the Daily Zeitgeist. If you don't know how to spell zeitgeist, like most of us, just type in Daily Z. It'll figure it out for you. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are given away for free.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood. Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, Dome?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the gold jacket.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What do we do?
We give the people what they want.
Phil?
Philip.
Mr. Jackson?
Zen Master.
Sorry, President of Basketball Operations, sir. Phil, what are you doing? Phil has got his Twitter fingers out, and he is sneak dissing Melo. Here is what he just tweeted. After everyone's talking about LeBron and Frank Isola, Phil was just sitting back and had to just put the spotlight back on him with this tweet. Quote, Bleacher's ding almost rings the bell, but I learned you don't change the spot on a leopard with Michael Graham in my CBA days.
What?
Let me do a little Phil Jackson to English before you get into this, Mr. Rose. Bleacher's ding almost rings the bell. Kevin Ding wrote a piece critical of Carmelo Anthony, talking about the relationship and expectations between Anthony and Jackson. But I learned you don't change the spot on a leopard with Michael Graham in my CBA days. Michael Graham was the front court mate of Patrick Ewing, Georgetown. And then he went to play for the Albany Patroons, where Phil Jackson was the coach. Michael Graham was dismissed from the team mid-season after he got into a fight with Phil Jackson. What in the world is Phil Jackson doing, Jalen Rose?
Not a very good job of being the leader of that franchise.
No.
This is irresponsible. It's unprofessional. It's something that we have not seen someone in that position do in the history of the NBA.
Interesting.
Especially on social media. Remember, we also have a president that is really active on Twitter.
President of Basketball Operations of the Knicks you're talking about, right?
Of the United States of America.
Oh, him, right.
And so now individuals are expressing themselves through that platform, and it's really loose. It's really sloppy.
But it's one thing with Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham Jr. or Trey Songz, but this is the front office, president of basketball operations, Phil Jackson, getting paid $12 billion a year to sneak diss his best player on Twitter.
And also, there's a few things I want to go through in this tweet, if that's okay.
I would love that, Mr. Rose.
So, miss me with your trying to be an eloquent writer.
I mean, come on.
Like, this ain't the time for you to be trying to put out hot tweets.
You making a ding bell pun joke? Is
Correct.
that what you're doing, Phil?
Yeah, that's where I was going first.
If you're going to come after the $60 million guy that plays in your team, you don't got to be cute about it.
And don't be the bully. Okay, you went on from the situation with Graham, got a chance to coach Michael, Scotty, Dennis, win 6 championships in Chicago.
Oh, and then what?
Go to Los Angeles, Shaq, Kobe, win 5 more. Don't try to kick the man when he's down.
For real.
One player that you've encountered in your illustrious coaching career
at the Patroons,
in the CBA, now all of a sudden you want to use his name as an example.
What is a Patroon?
And also, the outcome is what you can't dismiss. He got suspended from the team because he basically got into a fight with me. We didn't see eye to eye, and that was the end of him. I ended his career. That's basically what he's saying. And so that's a level that I don't appreciate. And then lastly, what about the last word? Let's talk about the last word.
Let's talk about that. Because he mentions his CBA days. He doesn't spell it D-A-Y-S. He spells it D-A-Z-E. He's high. He's hot.
And
He's hot.
also,
that's a weed reference.
No
You're
question.
dissing Carmelo Anthony. You're making a pun joke at the front and a weed reference at the back. Like, come on, Phil.
and how about just being tone deaf? Let me give some 6 degrees of separation for you. Who did you say that Mr. Graham played in college with?
Patrick Ewing.
Where is he a Hall of Fame player with his jersey hanging in the rafters?
New York Knickerbockers at Madison Square Garden.
Okay. Now, the weed reference was D-A-Z-E. Who's the number one Knicks fan that is heartbroken watching this team play on the front row? Might as well be throwing his money as he drives up the street out of the window.
Spike Lee.
So, like, you sat there. Hold on. So you sat there now, and for those that aren't public figures, you got to understand that sometimes, like, people rewrite and re-edit messages and pictures and stuff before they post multiple times.
Yeah, you gotta get it right. You're the
You're
president of basketball operations for the Knicks. If you're doing this, it's one thing if you're just saying something, but if you're dissing Carmelo Anthony, you got to get it right.
And also, you're taking sweat equity to actually do something that's counterproductive with the player that has a no trade clause. You can't just call me and dictate you're gonna move me. It's the other way around. You gave me that in my contract. You wanted me to stay.
Phil, another thing. You don't change the spots on a leopard. You forgot the S there, dog. Come on, Phil.
Why are you, Twitter fingers, doing an injustice to your franchise and to your best player?
And your fans.
And also, I got to give Melo some credit here. He's not Michael Graham. He's actually going to the Hall of Fame. And you know what? The same one that Dwayne Wade and LeBron James are going to be in. Now, there are different rooms, you can say, in that big mansion.
Sure.
But he deserves better. The game deserves better. Like, if this was a rookie that got into it with a coach, that got into it with a vet, and sent press in on something like this, we would have it as breaking news. It would lead every news cycle. Like, this is a person that's been around the league forever, and he played in New York City. So for him to not be able to understand the pulse of what he's doing and the magnitude of where he has taken this to a player that, did I say that Carmelo Anthony has a no trade clause? Did
Yes,
I mention that?
You did mention that.
Okay, so in other words, if you could have moved me, you would have, but guess what? You cannot. Are you helping my value? Does this help my value?
This does not help my value. This does not help you get rid of me. This does nothing. This lowers my value. This makes it seem inevitable that I'm going to leave. And when you're in a negotiation with someone and you know that it's an inevitability that you are going to give into what they want, lowers your value.
And I got some other thing that I need to stress.
The weed reference?
Not at all. It happens to do with a trade partner for Carmelo Anthony. Kevin Love played himself out of that trade. You play yourselves in the trade, you play yourselves in the trades and yourselves out of trade. I remember I was playing with Toronto and I knew I was a high potential. I was going to get traded to the Knicks maybe like a month prior. They featured me. I was getting buckets. I had like 20-something in like less than 30 minutes. I was being featured knowing I was going to get traded. Well, Kevin Love did that also against Washington. A terrific game. You see LeBron James
39
make
points,
that turnaround
17
jump
assists,
shot,
LeBron
three
James off the
glass.
board. Do you think he meant to go off the board?
That game was stupid.
He didn't mean to go off
Great
the
to
board.
see Bradley Beal playing
It
like
feels
big
extra
time
good
player.
when you end up in the opposing team's bench
No
when
doubt.
you do that
Insane.
too. Like,
My
excuse
favorite
me,
game
fellas.
of the year. But Kevin Love now played himself out of being traded for Carmelo Anthony. The Cavs are already hesitant. It ain't gonna happen now.
Phil,
That's why LeBron was like, "That's crazy talk."
Phil, you can diss Carmelo Anthony, but don't make a bad pun joke and a marijuana reference when you do so. It's ridiculous. Jalen Rose, LeBron James let it be known that there's a new sheriff in town. Here is what this new sheriff had to say about Frank Iasola's report.
Man, you were smiling like you took some Viagra or something.
Was trying to push Kevin Love out of Cleveland to bring in Carmelo Anthony. Here's what the new sheriff had to say about that report.
It's trash. And the guy who wrote it is trash, too.
What's the new sheriff doing here?
He's letting his voice be heard. And I talked about this previous, and this comes up a lot when players clap back. It's their right to,
Sure,
their obligation to. As media members, it's important to do our best to always try to get it right. When we put things on wax, speculation will happen that's not 100% correct.
of course.
A lot of times when there's smoke, there's fire. And if anybody thinks that the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks have not talked about trading Kevin Love, just like if you don't think that the New York Knicks haven't talked about trading Carmelo Anthony, I have some swampland in Detroit I want to sell.
So here's the thing. Do you remember when LeBron James was all mad about getting a playmaker? And he was all upset. And then it just so happened that 24 hours later, we learned that there was potential Kevin Love for Carmelo Anthony trade. And you and I on this very program speculated that the playmaker that he was talking about was getting Carmelo Anthony. We speculated that LeBron James was in favor of a Love for Anthony trade. Do you think LeBron has A, changed his mind, B, never felt that way, or C, is just kind of fronting?
No, it's D.
Ooh, I like this.
And this happens in professional sports very often, just like it happens in relationships. Kevin Love played his way out of this trade.
Real good time to have 39-12 if you're Kevin Love.
And here's what I mean by that. It's not an easy deal if you the Cavs. The biggest misconception that fans and media have when they talk about trades is you put a negative connotation on it. Like, they're getting rid of him. He's getting shipped out. So you mean the team that's paying me $10 million is going to trade me to a team that currently wants me, and I get the same amount of money? When do I leave? Being traded ain't the worst thing. Now, if you're going from a really great team to a team that stinks, that's another subject for another day.
Not great.
Kevin Love's getting the maximum deal. He's playing with LeBron James. Just won a championship. Kevin Love is a terrific passer. Think about this. Father played with Wes Unseld. That's what encouraged him to throw the long outlet pass. Did you see the one that he threw to LeBron James?
Of course I does.
LeBron James gets behind the three-point line, turns over the left shoulder off the glass.
Did he mean to go off the glass?
And he'll bring an element of just a big power forward's body, as opposed to Melo, who's a three that can play for and probably should play for at this point of his career.
Hold on. Do we have a Lance Stevenson announcement? The 8th grader, Lance Stevenson, has signed a 10-day contract with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, you would think I'd be extremely excited about this. I'm a little concerned. I don't know if Lance and Tibbs are going to see eye to eye. Call me crazy. I just don't know if Tibbs, he asks a lot of his players. Lance is kind of all over the place. I'm a little concerned about this match.
This is one of those topics where we do a reversal and it's crazy. Because I totally disagree. This is the perfect thing that could have happened for Lance at this point of his career. You know why? Because this is probably his last stop.
What is he now, the veteran leader in the locker room?
You don't have to have him to be a leader. You need him to be a productive player that's been around the league, that has seen the league's warts, and understands that if this does not work, he could very well be collecting his final 10 days of NBA money. And Tibbs is the kind of coach. Land has a mean streak, shown some toughness, shown some versatility. He was really productive early in the year with the Pelicans before he got hurt.
He was looking good.
So just because the Cavs chose not to sign him, that doesn't mean he won't fit in Minnesota. I like it a lot more than you. This is a good look for Lance, and he's going to stick with Minnesota past those 10 days. And big shout to Yogi Ferrell, getting paid out in Dallas. I like to see players who...
Me too. Who doesn't root for people that get their first play their way into their first contract?
Yes, indeed.
Yep. The best thing that happened to the Warriors was a great Super Bowl on Sunday because Draymond Green and Kevin Durant were filmed from the stands getting into it. Not just a little argument, getting into it, finger pointing, getting held back, moving away from each other, moving closer to each other. It looked aggressive and it looked bad. But everyone didn't talk about it because the Super Bowl was great. Now we have Draymond Green and ESPN and multiple sources telling ESPN that this was all a tactic to wake up Kevin Durant. What? Do you believe that?
I think teams disagree often, and I don't believe it because this is something you should say to the media for public consumption. Never air dirty laundry as it relates to your family. That is rule number one.
We were just playing. That was just a tactic that I used to get inside Kevin's head. I wasn't mad at him.
So what is he supposed to say? The hurtful jokes that people use that really know you against you when y'all get into an argument?
Does he believe
He's
that
not
I
going to
really
share
think
that. It's supposed to be like, oh, that's why you be snoring on a plane. That's why
No.
Jamel got you a blanket. Because your breath be stinking. You need to get some mints anyway. And what about that time what you did with the hairline videos and stuff like that? You know what I mean? If it wasn't for you getting suspended, I wouldn't even came here.
I was just using that as tactics.
You know what I'm
to get
saying?
into, Kevin
You
Durant's
came
head.
to the Hamptons to holler at me.
Those were tactics.
And so I appreciate how he handled it because they are the best team in basketball. And it's okay to have that competitive friction.
There's a gentleman in the NBA. His government name is DeMarcus Cousins.
Boogie!
His real name is Boogie.
There was a time when I worked for this network and I was told not to call him that on television.
Well, Rajon Rondo got into it with the referee at the end of the third quarter. Kings-Bulls game. Boogie demonstrably was requesting for a technical to be called on Rondo. Now, we'll just leave the irony of that act aside for a second and focus on this. Jim Boylan,
In his 60s.
the Bulls assistant. He looked strong, though. He looked big. He's 260.
Okay. Like Don Zimmer running out of the
Yep.
dugout.
Came over to Boogie. Maybe touched Boogie first. Boogie reacted, pushed Jim Boylan. Jim Boylan then turned his attention to Mr. Matt Barnes. Put a hand on Barnes. Barnes smacked his hand down quickly. Now, do Boogie and Barnes get a pass on this because Boylan seemed to initiate physical contact with them first?
This is why they get a pass, but here's what happens in sports where there's a line drawn, and I relate this to boxing. There's a difference between the sweet science and a street fight. Just how you behave in those circumstances. How are you dealing with dysfunction when your life is on the line? You're in a really violent circumstance? Or you're in an air-conditioned gym with 25,000 people.
You're not backed into a corner like a caged animal trying to fight your way out for your own safety.
And so this is one of the things that, while it's celebrated in hockey, it's still something that, while it was legislated out of the game, is a good thing for the NBA. We've had instances where I joke about, hold me back, because that's a smart thing to do. This is how you get paid. To go punch somebody, mess up your knuckle, break your finger like that.
So you don't think Boogie was just protecting himself? It's just self-defense against Jim Boylan?
I just think that it's unnecessary roughness.
Do you know what else is unnecessary? Boogie blocking Bill Simmons on Twitter. What is that about? Still. Of all the things that Boogie has done this year, and he is now being suspended for a game for getting 16 technicals.
Unblock Bill.
Every 2 texts he gets is going to be another game check that he loses. All 16 of those make some sense. Blocking Bill Simmons makes no sense.
Here's when it's going to get squashed.
When's that?
This is where the podfather pulls out his strings and a member of the family does what he can to squash a beef. DeMarcus Cousins works out in Los Angeles, California, playing basketball in the summer.
Okay.
That's little bro. I've been to those workouts. He's a terrific supporter of the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy as well.
Excellent. I'd love to hear people support Jalen Rose Leadership Academy.
I will make sure I take William Simmons to those workouts so that those two individuals can see eye to eye. And hopefully that day we do something for this program that signifies the legitimate hashtag Unblock Bill Day.
Until then, Boogie, you can still unblock him. Today was the parade in Boston, a city that has seen its fair share of championship parades. Of course, we start with none other than injured Patriots tight end Rob Gronkowski. In very Gronkowski fashion, he was drinking beers, he was shirtless, he was catching beers, he was spiking beers. At one point, there is one photo, though, where he is chugging a beer with one hand while simultaneously pouring liquor into his mouth with the other. What? Did Rob Gronkowski finally go too far by simultaneously chugging hard liquor and beer at the same time? I say yes, Mr. Rose.
I say no.
Too far.
Because
that's too far.
He's always stayed true to who he is. And I affectionately call him a meathead. He embraces that, almost like the Animal House theory. And so he could be John Belushi back in the day. That's how it seems like he wants to enjoy life. He's fun-loving.
Jalen.
He has multiple brothers.
Jalen.
So once you've had a few, it doesn't matter. It becomes a funnel at that point.
Chugging beer with one, and then at the same time pouring liquor in. Everyone listening to this has chased a shot with a beer. Okay, but that is simultaneous. That is back to back. I don't think at the same time. That's just too far, Gronk. That's too far. You went too far. And then, just to prove that he is the worst hang in the history of the human species, Bill Belichick got on the microphone at the parade where they're celebrating the championship and led this chant. Jalen, I love days off. Everybody loves days off. You're at the parade. You just won the championship. Take some days off, Bill. Why are you so proud of this no days off thing? I don't find this to be a mantra that I want to get behind as a Die Easy Patriots fan.
Who sets the culture for football in New England?
Rob Gronkowski?
No. Bill Belichick.
Okay.
And will they enjoy the Super Bowl? All of them will. So much so for the rest of their lives. But also, you continue to initiate and create an overtone that we're still appreciating the moment, but we're plotting on the next situation. And so he has to put that label out there for his team first and foremost. He's a 5-time champion. He's been to multiple Super Bowls.
No days off, though, Jalen?
It's just a mental manipulation. That's all it is. And you know who it's best for, really? It's nice carrots for the fans and the media. Media eat that stuff up.
Sure do.
They make that a story. Oh, what he said at the parade. I mean, they're drinking at the parade. They're partying at the parade. He didn't sleep last night.
Tom Brady's diet. We're always hearing about Tom Brady's diet. Oh, he's never tried coffee. He doesn't eat strawberries. Blah, blah, blah. Tom Brady, please tell me that Tom Brady got a little turned up, had himself some nice champagne, maybe did a shot of tequila with Gronk or off Gronk.
I hope so. Well deserved.
From Gronk's belly button. Do you think Tom Brady had at least 5 alcoholic beverages in the last 48 hours?
Yes.
What about 50?
No.
Come on.
50?
On the private plane with Giselle, he didn't fly with the rest of the team.
Correct.
Nope, not Tom. Tommy B doesn't fly with the rest of the team.
You know why? Youngsters. IGN, snapping, posting.
Exactly. None of that.
I got the wifey. She a supermodel.
Got my kids. The pilot's not going to snap us. You don't think he tipped over? You just had a little bottle of Veuve Clicquot with Giselle flying back to Boston for the parade? Do you think he had a strawberry? Maybe 3 strawberries?
No
Maybe
strawberries.
Had a banana strawberry smoothie? The Patriots have $67 million in cap space for the upcoming season. Puts them in the top 5 of available cap space of all franchises in the NFL. Is that surprising to you?
It isn't. When you look back at some of the moves, they allowed Jamie Collins to go to the Browns. They lost their other pass rusher to the Cardinals. And so they continue to reinvent themselves. Akeem Talib came and went. Revis came and went. And so now all of a sudden you have a team with an asset in Jimmy Garoppolo, who showed some value earlier in the year. You're not going to trade Gronk.
You'll think about it.
But you got to see what's out there.
You could trade him for Carmelo.
And so it just shows how their organization is ran exquisite. Because that usually doesn't go together. The team in the NBA usually that wins the championship, these are the teams that are spending the most money.
James White had a big Super Bowl. Hit a huge Super Bowl. 3 touchdowns. Terry Bradshaw called him James Lewis in the post-game podium. And then Tom Brady, while accepting the MVP trophy, said, you know what? I really think James White deserves this. I'm going to give him the truck. However, there was no truck to give. They stopped giving trucks to the Super Bowl MVP. Does Tom Brady owe James White a truck?
Yes.
You owe me a truck now. You
got
can't be on wax talking about, I'm going to give this guy a truck, and then, I'm sorry, there's no truck, you don't get a truck now. James White needs to send Tom Brady an invoice for whatever truck of his choice he wants.
This will take place, and here's the real trade in the ultimate rub. I think you deserve the trophy. You get the truck. I keep the trophy.
Yeah, that's fine. You can have the truck. James White, he had to go to Disneyland and do all of the Disney stuff. Do you kind of feel like that was kind of a drag for him? We all saw him all over ESPN with the Disneyland castle in the background, but there was a part of me that was like, he doesn't want to be there right now.
That is something that he's dreamed about his entire life.
Bittersweet?
Not at all. It ain't like he was the backup running back that had 7 yards and then they just sent him because nobody else wanted to go like the Pro Bowl. I mean, he balled. He had 3 touchdowns. He like, what time is my flight? Tom Brady got the private. He like, first class. Holla at me. How many people can I bring? You know what I'm saying?
I thought 1 extra. I thought there was 4 extra. No one has returned Tom Brady's jersey. Game-worn Super Bowl MVP worn jersey is still missing in Houston. Do you think Rob Gronkowski ate Tom Brady's jersey?
No, but
soaked it in liquor and then drank it?
A team that's been associated with Spygate and Deflategate, I would think that the culprit probably flew back on the plane with them.
Inside job. There are some people in the Patriots organization that have been accused of some things in the past that weren't exactly on the up and up. So you are telling me right now, Jalen Rose, that someone that flew back on the Patriots plane is harboring Tom Brady's game-worn Super Bowl jersey to sell it later at a profit.
That is the only way you get that close to Teflon Tom, is to be in the family.
Giselle did it. That's what you're saying. In the family, on the plane.
Yep.
Giselle did it.
The team plane.
Yep.
If Edelman didn't make that catch, would Giselle have made Adriana Lima break up with Julian Edelman?
I don't think so.
But you're leaving the door open for that to be a possibility.
No.
I could see that happening.
No.
I could see it. You need to text him right now. Break up with him. You need to do that.
No.
You don't think that happened?
It was an amazing catch. It did remind me of the David Tyree catch. But here's the unique thing about the David Tyree catch. He never caught another ball in the NFL.
No.
Julian Edelman also has never caught another ball in the NFL. Think about that one for a second, Mr. Rose. Jalen Rose, Doc Rivers had this to say after a recent Clipper loss.
We're 31-21. I swear to everybody, the sky's not falling. You know, maybe for you it is, but for us, no. But we're just looking at the season.
31-21. Doc Rivers says the sky is not falling. Shots aren't falling either.
Nope.
I like what you did there, sir.
Do you believe him?
Here's what he knows. If we're healthy, once the playoffs start, we have a chance to advance. The 8th spot is up for grabs. They will get a spot between where they sit right now, 5, easily could be 4 or 7.
But here's the thing. They were second in the West once upon a time. That playoff series looks a lot different when you're facing the 7th seed at home. Then you're facing the 6th seed at home. Then you're facing the 5 seed at home. Now you're on the road against the 4 seed. And then you drop a little bit. Now you're on the road against the 3 seed. That's where they're finding themselves, on the road against the Spurs or the Warriors or the Rockets.
Well, not the Warriors, because the Warriors going to get the first spot.
They could be in the 8th seed. The Clippers could.
No. They're not getting 8th seed.
The sky's falling.
They're going to be between 4 and 7. And not saying that they would win, but I don't think they would fear playing against the Spurs this year in the playoffs.
No, they've done it before.
Correct. Memphis, Utah, or the Jazz for that matter.
No one's really talked about Carmelo Anthony joining the Clippers in the last week or so.
No.
A little while they were talking about that. Remember that?
He got that trade kicker. It makes it tough. 15% on top of his salary.
Carmelo got a great deal. Phil was so high that day. Phil woke up the next day and read the paper like, I did what yesterday? I remember we did the deal, but I don't remember all this. Brandon Jennings was talking about the Knicks and their effort and just how everything's going poorly for them. They lost to the Lakers, and he said, quote, "We all make millions of dollars playing this game, so the least we can do is go out there and play hard every night." You used to get paid millions of dollars to play basketball. I can understand over the course of an 82-game season that you don't play as hard, no matter how much you get paid.
The disappointing thing for the Knicks, in my opinion, is they have a core group of players led by Carmelo, who's going to the Hall of Fame. When healthy, Derrick Rose, who's really been productive this year.
Mm-hmm.
Porzingis, who's a future perennial all-star. Courtney Lee, seasoned veteran, can make the three, does play hard. And Joakim Noah, when what playing hard is his game. That collection of individuals, along with Brandon Jennings, who had the quote, you would think that they wouldn't play as bad consistently as they do.
Exactly.
And if effort is an issue, I'm glad that he's acknowledging it because we see it as well.
Here's what Dwayne Wade said after blowing a huge lead to the Kings and finally saving the Bulls. Said this about the Bulls, quote, "We're not playing Miami Heat basketball where they've won 11 straight, but we're playing good basketball." What is Dwayne Wade doing?
I gave a nice soliloquy about this.
I remember.
On my main source looking at the front door. Dwayne Wade sitting on the Chicago Bulls sideline while dysfunction is happening between he and Jimmy Butler and Rajon Rondo. As a substitute, looking on the other end is Eric Spoelstra, and the Miami Heat actually beat them. And like, man, I left stability. I left the Miami Mafia. And I distinctly have been saying this all season. If he could have a do-over, he wouldn't have left Miami.
No.
It was great to throw out the first pitch, and I'm returning home. But Dade County has become his new home. And he's now complimenting what seems to be the obvious, but it's a subliminal at the Bulls because he's acknowledging that their franchise isn't run the exact same way as the one he's used to.
He said, we're not playing Miami Heat basketball. The Bulls are 26-26. The Heat are 22-30. And he's saying that's who we need to be like. And he's not pointing up at the standings. He's pointing down in the standings. Is this an olive branch? Is he extending a little olive branch to the Miami Mafia?
I talked about this. What did I say was going to happen at the end of this year?
He's going to opt out.
Okay.
He's going to re-sign with the Miami Heat. He likes statues, too.
That's what I told him. You got to play it. When he was a free agent a couple of years ago, I'm like, you got to play a couple more years to get that certified statue.
Chandler Parsons is a personality I like. He's a basketball player I like.
Is he the Travis Kelce of the NBA?
Travis Kelce performs a little bit better on the field than my man Chandler has done on the court recently. He went 1 for 10. But one thing I like about him, he does have a good personality. And he tweeted this, quote, "Dear basketball, please go in the hoop, babe. Best, Chandler."
It's one of those things that you can make fun of yourself when you sign a mega off-season deal and it's guaranteed.
It's all funny then.
If he was a free agent coming up,
that's not funny.
Dealing with his injuries, the way he's looked at points of the season, he would not be tweeting that. Keep getting them checks, Chandler. Jokic is balling.
For the Nuggets has had a breakout year.
Points, rebounds, assists, terrific passing, big man.
And here's what he said when asked about his passing. Now this just really cuts to the core. For anyone that has played basketball, for anyone that has a friend, for anyone that cares about other people, just listen. Quote, "Passing makes 2 people happy. Scoring only makes one person happy? Does that make you wish that you passed more when you were in the NBA?
No, that's coaching speak 101. I've heard that millions of times.
Vince Carter got 2 blocks in a row against the Spurs.
4 overall.
Just rising up and blocking, denying Spurs the basket left and then right. Are we sure this is the last year for Vince Carter?
He said in the postgame that he's going to play as long as he's allowed to collect the check, and I'm not mad at him. Here's when Vince Carter, one of the most athletic players that the game has seen, loses some of his spring, he's still able to get a couple of blocks, and those were terrific plays, great timing, long arms. I give him all of the credit. But I was watching those plays, and you know what came to mind to me? Charles Smith, New York Knicks, and I'm like, come on, LaMarcus Aldridge? Like seriously? You letting VC stuff you like that?
I think they kind of went up a little slow, thinking that, Vince would never even jump for this.
And then there was another play where they got basically in the air and their timing was, about to impact one another, and it was like a weak shot attempt. I'm like, LaMarcus, you're 6'10", you're 6'11". You're supposed to make a strong finish.
You're not just 6'10", 6'11". You're also like 27. He's
like,
13
man, I
years
was
older than you.
I was disappointed in that. I was watching that.
Jalen Rose, off the success of the new addition.
Did you just pass gas in the studio?
No, that was my stomach making noise. I'm hungry.
Okay.
Not that I've ever done that before. Not audibly. Jalen.
What up, though?
Steve Sarkisian must have something. He must interview really well. Like, he must just light up a room when you have him in for the interview. Because he was at USC, very publicly fired from USC.
Why?
Not just because of the bad performance of his team, which was bad.
Why?
But also because he was reportedly intoxicated by alcohol at public presentations. On work days.
Oh.
Alcoholism
on vacation in the off season?
Probably. But
or
alcoholism is serious.
Games?
During games, there was all kinds of reports. And then he went to rehab himself. Then, next thing you know, he popped up in Alabama, losing the national championship game. After all that success, he has now been named as the offensive coordinator of the Falcons.
I respectfully say, are Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian the same person?
I think so. They have the same history.
This is so odd. You've documented what led to him being fired by USC. Normally, when that takes place, you don't get an offensive coordinating opportunity at Alabama a year or so later.
No.
When he got brought to the staff as what was considered like a special assistant, to me, that was the beginning of an acknowledgement between Saban and Kiffin that would be his final season.
That was Saban saying to Kiffin, your replacement is right there.
Correct. And so much so that he did it, and I did not like this call, right before the national championship game. Wasn't a good look. I know he's won multiple championships.
Did they win that game?
And you can't question, in hindsight, it's always 20/20.
Did they win that game?
But you can dismiss the role of an offensive coordinator, but there's a reason why that position goes and then now becomes a head coach.
He must be
it's
so
charismatic.
charismatic. He must be funny, intelligent, insightful.
And when you
must
look
have
at
PowerPoints.
Lane Kiffin's resume, you would think it should have worked in reverse. The Raiders probably shouldn't have been his first job. The job he has now probably should have been his first job. Mm-hmm. Now you pair both of them at Alabama. With Sarkisian's history, they lost the national championship, and then he gets hired to oversee the best offensive football in the current
that just
MVP
went to the Super Bowl.
Matt Ryan,
but not only that, it's
and Julio Jones.
The Super Bowl was 2 days ago. They could have extended this. They could have interviewed some more people. I mean, it just seems like, I understand if they ended up with this decision, but they could have sort of taken some more time to make it.
So here's some degrees of separation. I just talked about Kiffin and Sarkisian. Whose staff was Dan Quinn on before he got the job?
Pete Carroll.
In Atlanta. Now you have an umbrella. That just mushroomed right in front of our face to a scenario where I'm never going to knock somebody for a gig. Because talented people get an opportunity. And he's clearly really good at what he does.
Sure.
How it happened, man, what?
It's a great interview. He prepares PowerPoints. He Googles everybody that's in the room, greets them by their name before he even introduces himself to them.
Like the movie Faced Off. He and Lane Kiffin might as well star in that movie. They might as well be the same person.
Who starred in the movie Face Off? You just brought it up. I didn't even bring it up. Jalen Rose, who starred in the movie Face Off?
Nicolas Cage. John Travolta.
I'm so proud of you right now.
You try to rush me. What's my kids' names? What's my kids' names? I'm like, wait a minute, slow down. I know their names.
President Obama is just living the life right now.
Do?
You know what he does? He's on vacation on Richard Branson's island. He looks at his phone. He sees what's going on in the world and in politics. He puts his phone down and says, hey, Rich, hey, Dickie B, set me up with that kite surfing. We've watched video of him kite surfing.
And it's only right. He better be listening to some 90s rap. Like, they better be listening to Ja Rule and Ashanti.
When they're not listening to Jalen and Jacoby, I know he subscribes to the podcast. Yep. He listens to Jalen and Jacoby.
I be without you?
When he's done with that, it's
that's
just
Ja
Ja
Rule and Michelle
Rule
need to be playing
and
right
Ashanti.
now.
Yep.
Would you ever kite surf?
No.
It looked hard. I was impressed by his efforts, but it looked hard.
Here's something I'm not going to do.
Once the kite goes into the water, how do you get it out?
I'm going to tell you something that has nothing to do with kite. I'm not trying to surf or ski. I am not trying to put myself in a position where the splits is an option.
Here's the thing. I will go to places where people ski.
Except yoga.
And I will go to places where people surf. I just won't partake in those particular activities.
No.
The Jordan brand. We have conflicted feelings about the Jordan brand here. You've educated me to how it represents more than just the sneakers. It represents the man. And is that a man that I want to support with my hard-earned money?
And plus, I grew up listening to Public Enemy when Chuck D was like, I like Nike, but wait a minute. I look down like, okay, I'm rocking Pumas
For me,
and
it's
Adidas
a little bit
and
more
top
like
10s.
Everybody else is wearing these sneakers. Do I really want to wear these sneakers because everybody else is wearing them? However, they might have gone a little too far with this one. They've released Jordan 1 golf cleats that look just like the original Jordan 1s.
Yep.
High top. They have an all-white pair and a red and white pair. My thing is this. If you're on the golf course, don't wear Jordans. Like, it's just, I understand, like, you might like them, you want to be hip-hop, you want to be cool on the golf course or whatever. The golf course isn't the place to be hip-hop and cool. It's not the place for that.
No.
You don't need Jordan 1 golf cleats. Did they go too far with Jordan 1 golf cleats?
No.
Will they make money?
Of course they'll make money.
Yep.
You can
Didn't
put
go
that
too far.
You can put that stupid logo on anything and it would make money.
Correct.
I ride my bike on the streets all the time. Do you know how many cars have the Jordan logo on it? Like they're not even getting paid for that. People with tattoos of the Jordan logo.
You know what would be awesome? If you got the Jordan logo cutting your hair.
I would do that. I will do that. I promise I'll do that for the show. You just gotta pay me. I got a number. There's a number for everything. You can start a GoFundMe right now. I will have that. I will have it put into my hair.
How much?
Whew. For the show?
Yes.
And it's on wax forever? I would say $10, $20 million.
How about to get a part in your hair?
I can't do it, Jalen. I can't be the white dude with the part in his hair. You know me well enough. I can't do that.
That's too much of a culture vulture.
That's too much. I can't do that.
People be swooping in on the culture.
Don Baker is a DJ named Disco Don. He's Britain's oldest DJ. He's 80 years old and he's still out there spinning. What? You're a DJ yourself. Will Jalen Rose, a.k.a. DJ Motown Clown, still be an active disc jockey when he is 80 years old?
I hope so. If I'm alive and breathing, I will do it. I will take it.
Right now, we're going to open up our 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed. You sent us your observations about the Super Bowl that were overlooked. Here they are from our 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed. The first one that we have is from someone online who has changed their Twitter handle to 4 bracelets. Why do you think they did that?
2 chains?
4 bracelets! I can't do it as well as you can.
For 2 chains?
4 chains?
No, for 2 chains.
That's 8 chains then. He said, why did the owner of the Falcons not go back up to his suite? You can't do that.
Can't go back.
You can't go back.
Can't
you
go
can't
back.
put that toothpaste back in the tube.
Absolutely.
Once you're down there,
Yes,
once
indeed.
you took the elevator from the 4th floor down to the 1st
It's
floor,
a done dilly.
that elevator doesn't go back up.
Yes, indeed.
God, I feel bad for him.
Premature celebration.
I'm looking at Bow Wow. Do you feel bad for Bow Wow? I don't know if you know, but a lot of people saw Bow Wow at halftime on social media talking about how the game is over. It's over. And then after everything transpired, people have taken Bow Wow and made him into a scapegoat. They're blaming Bow Wow for the Falcons' loss. Do you feel bad for Bow Wow?
He wasn't playing. He's not to blame.
2 Chainz?
Full prices.
This is a good observation. I love this observation. It's from Steven DeJong or Steven DeYoung. Brady almost threw 4 interceptions in the final two drives, but Atlanta couldn't capitalize. You know what? It's easy in hindsight to point at these things, but like that Edelman catch was also kind of a drop from the DB that was in front of him. Might have even been Alford.
And also, there were 3 players around him on the
You could have
defensive
just
side
kicked
of
the
the
ball
football.
out of his hands.
Yes.
Like, there's a lot that could have happened. And there were multiple plays that were those, if this would have happened, then that would have happened. And Tom Brady threw a lot of balls that could have been picked off. However, as a Patriots die easy fan, it doesn't always go one way. You know, there's a lot of Super Bowls you can look back on. There's a lot of missed opportunities here and there. But the fact of the matter is, the Falcons choked. Gave the Super Bowl to the Patriots. And now Gronkowski is in a parade chugging both beer and liquor at the same time like a savage. Bass Reeves. This isn't nice, Jalen. That coin flip. From now on, you have to be physically able to flip the coin. I believe he is in reference to our ex-president, George Bush, who flipped the coin from the wheelchair that was pushed by his wife, Barbara Bush. I thought it was a nice moment. I thought the actual coin flip perhaps could have been executed a bit better. It did roll under some Patriots players, but it's in Houston. He's a Texas guy. I see nothing wrong with it. If you get the rotation over twice, that's all that matters.
It's a tough call because, as you mentioned, it's relative to have him do it in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
It just, so much riding on it. When you're standing there, you do hope that it flips.
Yes. And at the end of the day, he didn't come out for the real coin flip that mattered. Hey, can I bring this up, Jalen Rose? Can we just have the overtime rules be changed into, even if it's just the playoffs, just you get a chance to match? The Super Bowl, don't you feel like Matt Ryan should have gotten a chance to take the field and started from the 20 or 25, wherever the kickoff landed, and got the chance to drive his team down the field? Wouldn't that be nice?
Absolutely. I think that's next. It's one thing to have it for field goals to allow the other team to get a possession, but the same should apply for touchdowns.
I really think so.
And then that also further creates value for the extra point or the 2-point conversion.
Yep. Exactly. Another decision gets made. And you know what I love? Going forward on 4th down. And when you have to score a touchdown, there's probably 4 4th downs conversions that you need to make on that drive. I'm an entertainment. Sorry, I like entertaining stuff. They should do that in the Super Bowl. I'll write another strongly worded email to the league office. 2 Chainz.
Full prices.
Has another question. How many players will be skipping the White House trip? McCourty has said that he's not going. Bennett has said that he's not going. How many players are on the roster? 85, I want to say. It's like confusing because they have practice teams and this and that. Let's say the number is 85. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, on the staff. What percentage of those 85 do you think will attend the White House trip, assuming that they are all invited? Which is nothing is assumed.
25% won't go.
Okay. You make me do the math? That's probably about 20 people, so 65 will show up. 21 people. 21.25 people. Exactly. I have just a sneaky feeling that it's not going to be the whole team invited. I have a sneaky theory that it's going to end up being Kraft, Brady, and Belichick, not at the White House, taking a picture with Trump in New York City, and they won't even go to the White House.
That is what the future is going to look like to stop those awkward moments of teams being able to decline and multiple players now using that platform for their political stance.
Exactly,
and also it's like you don't want to necessarily let somebody come that you may not understand what they're going to do once they arrive.
Who knows what kind of social media posts can get out?
And so I think that visit, as we know it, is going to change to a photo op, and it's going to become something that is not as traditional anymore.
There's 53 people on an active roster, but I'm assuming that more than that will be invited in an NFL scenario. Who knows, though? Hoop Life pointed this out. I saw this, and I was like, I'm assuming that he is right. Why did Matt Ryan replace his cap with his helmet when he shook Brady's hand? I have a theory on this. So he's got his helmet in his hand and his cap on. However, the scrum at the end of the game, you have to go through that crowd and shake hands. If your helmet is not on your head, where is your helmet?
In your hand.
Hard to navigate the crowd. You make yourself bigger. You can't get sideways and sneak through. Handshakes often involve two hands. Maybe you want a pat in the shoulder while you do it. I'm going to say it was just purely logistics, not like he was crying or something.
I agree.
You've never disagreed with me like that. I feel like I said something. I feel like I just won a championship or something. Usually it's, you're wrong because of this. You don't know what you're talking about. The media needs to change. The media's misconception is this. You just going to straight up agree with me on that one? Congratulations to me. It's a first on Jalen and Jacoby. Alex pointed out, was this Super Bowl the NFL version of a rope-a-dope? The Pats wore out the Atlanta defense by being on the field longer. This reminds me of the Draymond thing. Like, you can just make up a narrative after the fact that fits into what happened. But, like, the idea, the rope-a-dope as a strategy, I don't think the Patriots were intentionally turning the ball over. I don't think the Patriots were intentionally having drive stops and intentionally letting the Falcons score as a strategy. I don't think that was a strategy.
That was the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history. The first game that went overtime also. That was not a rope-a-dope. That was a Falcons choke.
Now, call 985-80-JALEN. You call 985-80-JALEN. You can leave us a voicemail. We have a staff of human beings. Listen to all the voicemails. Pluck out the best ones. Play them for us to react to. Let's listen to the first one.
Hey, Jalen and Jacoby. This is Julian calling from Dubai. I have a very easy question for Mr. Rose. Why is the ball used to play softball hard? Cheers. Keep giving the people what they want. Cheers.
It's a great question from Julian in Dubai. Jalen Rose. Why is a softball hard? I think you just broke Jalen Rose, Julian. Thank you very much.
It's one of those things. I was trying to think about it in sports, the analogy that I wanted to use, how sometimes the words for different things don't go with the actuality. I just can't think of it right now.
Well, one of my favorite examples is the game show Jeopardy. Bad title. It's nothing to do with Jeopardy. It should be called like Trivia Game.
I'm not sure. That's one of those questions that I got stumped, like in Family Feud. Just pass.
I'll tell you why. It's because softer ball doesn't make any sense. It's actually softer ball.
But it's, in theory, you could say it's.
Have you ever been to Dubai?
I have.
Really?
Yes.
What were you doing there?
Riding camels.
What? Did you go in between the humps?
No, sir.
In front of the humps or behind the bumps? Is this like a banana boat situation?
No.
Okay, let's listen to the next voicemail.
Jalen, Jacoby, what's happening? This is Bailey representing Salt Lake City, Utah. I got a question, fellas. Do my Jazz have any chance of making the Western Conference Finals? I repeat, do the Utah Jazz, led by Gordon Hayward and Rudy Gobert, have a chance at making the Western Conference Finals? Again, this is Bailey, Salt Lake City. Keep getting them checks. Keep giving the people what they want. Love you guys. Take it easy.
I love Bailey's enthusiasm.
Me too.
I like his energy. Shout out to Bailey.
I'll say Bailey, baby steps. Yeah. They're in the Western Conference. They nearly missed the playoffs last year. Gordon Hayward has evolved into an all-star player. Rudy Gobert is the Stifle Tower, blocking shots, getting boards, scoring the basketball, finishing around the hoop. a lot of notable players
Can I
have
give
played
Bailey some
well.
advice?
George Hill, Rodney Hood.
Here's what Bailey needs. He needs
Favors.
he needs to embrace the word semi. That's what he needs to do. He needs
Correct.
to embrace the word
So
semi.
if they make it to the playoffs and they win the first round,
They have a chance to
that
get
would be a successful
to the
season,
Western Conference semifinals.
especially if they don't get swept in the second round, which I don't think they would. They have a really good young nucleus. I like what they've done with their team, and the future's bright.
Let's listen to the next voicemail.
Good evening, Jacob and Jacoby. My name is Kadisha, originally from New York. Shout out to Queens. Right now stationed in Virginia Beach because I'm in the military. My question is, I know how much you two love hip-hop, so I wanted to know if you ever saw the Netflix original documentary, Hip Hop Evolution. I found it really informative, and I was just wondering if you two saw it, what did you think? Thank you, and listen to the podcast every day when I'm getting ready for work. Bye.
First of all, so many reasons to give Kadisha a shout out. Number one,
I know where you're going.
Queens. Number two, in the service. Number three, because she has retitled this show. Let's
I knew
listen
where you were going.
to Kadisha again.
Good evening, Jacob and Jacoby.
Welcome back to Jacob and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
Jacob and Jacoby.
Kadisha, thank you so much for your call. Ladies, remember to call 98580 Jalen. Tomorrow is Woman Crush Wednesday. So call 98580 Jalen. Females or dudes, get the females in your life to call 98580 Jalen. Leave us some messages for tomorrow's all-female voicemail segment. Jalen Rose, have you ever seen Hip Hop Revolution?
I have
Evolution?
not.
I have not either.
I need to now.
I like to learn things.
Yes,
I like
indeed.
documentaries.
I love
have
informative
Netflix.
Documentaries.
I like to be entertained and
Yes,
informed.
indeed. Thank you for putting us on
Infotainment.
something. I'm going to check it out, and then we'll report back on the program.
The program named Jacob and Jacoby. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
I knew you were going.
Hey, Jalen and Jacoby, longtime fan here from Switzerland. Listen to your podcast every day while I'm cooking. So I wanted to ask you guys, what are you doing when you cook? If you do cook. Do you listen to radio? Do you watch sports? Which I do from time to time, but most of the time I listen to Jalen and Jacoby while I prepare some nice European food and open a glass of a bottle of red wine. Shout out. Keep giving the people what they want. You're awesome. Bye-bye.
I love this man. I've been to Switzerland multiple times during a European trip after college. I really enjoyed Switzerland for a lot of reasons. The food wasn't one of them, but I'm sure this dude cooks a great dish. But I saw you got excited when he mentioned one thing about his cooking practices.
You were paying attention to me?
There's nothing else to look at in the room.
Shed a tear.
It was when he mentioned that he opens up a bottle of red wine while he cooks.
Actually, it was before that.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I did get
wasn't paying that
excited
much
about
attention.
him sharing the fact that he loves red wine. There isn't a time, unless I purposely make it this way, that when I'm cooking, the television and radio are both on. And here's the thing.
Really?
The radio's something I'm listening to, and the television is something I'm watching.
See, I don't get down with that. No. No.
This takes place.
Oh, no.
People actually are doing it all of the time anyway. They don't realize it. It's called your cell phone. If you're constantly looking down at your phone 50 times, it's no different than looking up at the television.
It's different than looking up the television and hearing the radio.
But here's my challenge to everybody.
Cook a Swiss meal and send it to us.
I love this. This is a tactic that
Like Draymond Green?
I use that allows me to get more out of a day, decompress, and it's a mental meditation.
I love this.
Challenge yourself to have times in the day
Where you tweet about Carmelo?
where you're not watching TV, you're not on the phone, you're not on the computer, you're not paying attention to any mobile device, and you're not listening to any music.
Jalen, I do that every day for 8 hours. It's called sleep.
When you're awake.
Oh, my bad.
When you're awake.
Oh, my bad.
And if you're sleeping, but you're laying next to the phone. And 30 seconds, every time you roll over, you're checking the phone. Getting up in the middle of the night, going to use the bathroom, check the phone.
Every time.
Ain't nobody texting you at 2 and 3 in the morning?
Yeah, but people are being mean to me on Twitter.
If you are getting your inspiration from social media, not from people that are texting you, that's a you issue.
At Jalen and Jacoby, you tweet us any question, any comment, any feedback we put on the show. It is as simple as that. It's important to us because we have a motto on this show. Right now, we're going to open up our 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed. Take some of your predictions for the second half of the NBA season. We will evaluate just how crazy those are. Big Crown, mail carrier, distributor for the United States Postal Service, listens to us while he's on his route. If you're lucky enough to be on Big Crown's route, make sure you give him a big tip at Christmas time.
Yes, indeed.
Yep. He predicts that Boston will get Boogie in a trade and he will unblock Bill. What? Which of his two predictions is more likely?
Unblock Bill is going to happen first, in my opinion.
Tim Dawson says Lance Stevenson will lead the Timberwolves to the playoffs.
The Timberwolves could very well make the playoffs.
They are now, let's see how far behind they are. About 4.5 games out of the 8th spot with 4 teams in between them and the 8th spot. That's a tough hill.
With Zach LaVine out as well, if they're going to be in the playoffs, it's going to be because of Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins.
What? Not because of Lance?
He could be a contributor.
Oh, man. 2 Chains.
4 bracelets.
4 bracelets is back. His prediction is simple. 4 words. Phil Jackson gets fired.
Phil Jackson is trying to get fired.
If you fire Phil Jackson, you're basically saying, I will pay you $12 million a year to do nothing.
And next year.
To do nothing.
He
has
has
an opt-out and then 2 more years.
Correct. So that's this year and 2 more seasons.
So that's basically $30 million.
When your head coach does what he does today with his Twitter fingers, he's hoping that you fire him so that he can collect all of his money.
Of basketball operations.
That's what Larry Brown did.
A lot of presidents with loose Twitter fingers. Adrian Thomas has this prediction. Isaiah Thomas or Westbrook will get All-Star MVP. Westbrook tries for All-Star MVP. I don't know if he tries for All-Star MVP. He just only has 1 speed. Westbrook has been All-Star MVP twice, I want to say.
My choice is Anthony Davis.
Really?
Because
he only gets 1 shot.
No, because here's why. Because he's a gazelle up and down the floor. So players are going to be throwing him lobs.
Lobs?
They're going to be giving him drop passes. He's going to be getting boards. He's going to be getting steals. He's going to be getting blocks.
Can I just poke a hole in that, though? You need to put on a show to be the All-Star MVP. And it's pretty clear who the All-Star MVP is most years. And a lot of times, someone scores a lot of points. And the way you score a lot of points in the All-Star game is open threes. People don't close out in the All-Star game. So I feel like to get the MVP, to really rack up a lot of points, you got to hit some threes.
Russell won 2 MVPs in a row.
Because he doesn't know how to take it easy. Like, I feel like the players on his own team and the other team sometimes are like, Russ, this is the All-Star game.
Well, it's going to be different this year because he's going to be out there with 4 Golden State Warriors.
I think he's going to be taking charges.
So, he's going to come down. I'm telling you, here's the lighthearted moment of the All-Star game. Russell Westbrook is going to enter the game. And he's going to be playing with the 4 Golden State Warriors.
No. He's going to be playing without the 4 Golden State Warriors, and then he's going to look over at the scorer's table.
Correct.
Yes, it's not going to happen like that. He's not going to get subbed in with the 4 already on the floor.
Correct. And then the camera's going to pan to the sideline, and you're going to see Steve Kerr, and everybody's going to laugh. The players from the Warriors are going to enter the game. Russell's going to get the inbounds pass. He's going to dribble right up and shoot it, and everybody's going to laugh. And then before you know it, the icebreaker publicly with he and KD is going to happen. But as far as winning MVP, they're going to be like, you better get that ball up. And I think Anthony Davis is going to win the award.
Do you know who's going to win? Carmelo Anthony. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. Maybe there'll be an injury or something. No, 4 injuries.
That's just wrong. You're such a die easy Knicks fan.
Once they're good, I'll be a fan again. Okay?
That's cute, man.
Tweeting. Leopard doesn't change its spots without the S. Lincoln's prediction is the Bulls will go on a run and finish 6th in the East and beat the Raptors in the first round. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Lincoln is probably from Chicago. Just throwing that out there.
I got to see more. I can't roll with that right now.
What? You don't think they're going to beat the Raptors?
No, I can't roll
But
with that.
You don't think Rajon Rondo, Jimmy Butler,
I'm not rolling.
Dwayne Wade,
I'm not rolling.
The team is fractured in half.
I'm not rolling.
Fred Hoiberg, they're having a mutiny against him. Young players hate the old players.
Yeah,
Old players hate the young players. You don't think they're going to galvanize and beat the Raptors?
No, I'm not rolling.
Can I make a prediction?
Sure.
Raptors trade for Paul Millsap. People were talking about this like a month ago. It was just so obvious.
Yep.
The Raptors need a 4.
They have. Just almost like the Clippers have always needed a 3.
The Raptors need a 4. Millsap's available. Make it happen. You're going to play Valanciunas and Nogueira at the same time? Is that what you're going to do? T-Chang. Come on. T-Chang. 4 bracelets? No?
Is his name 4 bracelets or T-Chain?
No.
I think you messed it up earlier.
No, look, there's a guy named 4 bracelets, and I always say 2 chains, you say 4 bracelets. There's also a guy named T-Chang, which sounds like 2 chains. I thought we were on the same page.
Hey, man,
I thought we had chemistry
let me tell you
as a duo.
something. If I could be what everybody wanted me to be, when everybody wanted me to be there, I'd be confused.
I just want you to listen. I just want you to listen. That's all. T-Chang
4 bracelets
says Carmelo gets traded, and it's not to the Cavs or the Clippers. He's not waving that. He's not waving that to go to Orlando for a package. He's not waving that so he can go to the Hawks. And
where's Ice Cube when I need him? Where's Doughboy when I need him? You got Doughboy?
Oh, we got a problem here?
I'll make dough, but don't call me Doughboy.
Oh, we got a problem here?
That's what Melo says anytime the Knicks approach him with trade prospects. This is why he has a clause that prohibits this from happening without his permission.
Here's what happens.
Oh, we got a problem here?
There's a trade proposal that comes through. I'm sorry, not Phil Jackson's desk. It comes to Steve Mills' desk because you don't talk to Phil Jackson about trades. He's too busy reading Bleacher Report. And then they put together a trade that they like. They send it over to Carmelo's agent. Carmelo's agent calls Carmelo. Do you know what Carmelo says? Oh, we'll let him sit on that for a few hours.
Yes.
We'll let him sit on that.
No doubt.
Don't worry, we don't got to rush to get back to him.
Don't call us. We'll call you.
Yeah, but hit me tomorrow at lunchtime.
Yes,
maybe I'll have some time to discuss this.
Yes,
but this is not a priority for me right now.
At dinner with the fam.
Your emergency is not my emergency,
Correct.
Knicks organization.
Yes.
You're the one that drew the contract with the no trade clause. You didn't say I have to get back to you within 2 hours. Me and Lala are out at a very nice restaurant on the town.
That's cute, man. That's cute.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for listening on ESPN Radio, for watching on ESPN2 and ESPN News, and subscribing to the Jalen and Jacoby podcast.
You're far too kind.
Thank you.